Anyway, about a year ago, I was diagnosed with an atrial flutter. It causes the top part of my heart to beat faster than the bottom part, which, when my heart rate goes up, well, it's not fun. Tightness of the chest, difficulty breathing, just a whole bunch of really bad feelings in my chest. As a nice little added bonus, it increases my risk of getting a stroke by 5 times. So I'm taking blood thinners so that the blood does not congeal in my heart, and I'm taking beta blockers to keep my heart rate down. Which is another good reason for the rest of you guys to stop slamming down those energy drinks and sodas. I mean, besides the fact that they might make you fat and dead. But anyway, in this game, the rain in this game falls mainly on the plane. And actually, it's rather fake. I mean, all rain in video games are fake, but I'm not using a particle system for this, even though I could. This is something I developed in Blender, and I'm doing it in Godot. It's basically just rain shuffling. And I'm going to show you how it works. It's based on the principle, you know, when you're a kid, take 2 pennies, you put them between your thumbs, rub them together real quick, and it looks like there's a third penny. Well, this is pretty much the same thing. Now, it would help if the sky was a bit darker, but I don't care right now. So basically, I have this here, the Rainmaker. It just shuffles everything. And it has a bunch of raycasts. Now, this thing rotates. Oh. Boy, I hope that bug was tasty. Anyway, it rotates as these raycasts point directly to the ground. Check for collisions. They put a splash at their collision, and somewhere between the collision and the raycast's position, they set a raindrop. Now, interesting thing to note. Here in the rain test, we have this spatial that holds the raindrops. I found out that this spatial, the parent for the raindrops, has to have its translation at 0. Because if it has a translation offset, all these raindrops, but their translation offset won't actually go where they're supposed to go. It's weird. They kind of adopt the rains, the spatials, or their parents' offset, in addition to wherever you place them. So just keep that in mind. Now, the raindrops are in a group raindrop, and the rain splash is in a group rain splash. And no scripts in the main scene. Nope, there's one script. Nope, no scripts in the main scene, but there is a script in the Rainmaker scene. Okay. We've got raise, drops, splashes, splash index, drop index, and delta time. I like delta timers. So, and our startup function, since we're in the Rainmaker and all it has are the raycasts, we just say raise equal get children. This gives us our list of nodes. And for I in raised, we give them an exception, which I don't think we need to in Godot 3, but I did it anyway. And for drops and for splashes, we get tree, and then we get the nodes in group for the raindrops and the rain splashes. So we have our list of raycasts, our list of raindrops, and our list of rain splashes. You can actually have less raindrops than rain splashes, or more, or however you want to do it. So in our run rain function, we rotate it by the Y position, which spins it around, and it doesn't really matter how much you rotate it by. And then for I and rays, we're actually going through each and every individual ray, and then we check to see if it's colliding. And you can have more or less rays than I have, more or less splashes, more or less drops, it doesn't matter. But we randomize, and then we get the collision point and the source of our raycast. Now what I did was I got the global transform.origin, which gives us our global translation. And then we get our new y, variable new y equals random range, and we give it the source y position and our collision point y position. The reason why we want to do this is to put the raindrop somewhere between where our collider hit and the top of the sky. Now you normally have this whole setup following the player, but since we don't have a player, it's kind of a moot point. And we've got a print statement, which we don't need. And we create our new vector, variable new vector equals vector3 point.x, new y, and point.z. You can always create a new vector. This is what I do when I use the lookAt function, and I don't want the rotation to get all weird. I create a brand new vector from 2 different sources. Now we get the drop, we get the raindrops, and we use our drop index to get that specific drop in the list, and we set the translation to the new vector. We take the splashes, splash index, and set its translation to the collision point. We increase the splash and the drop index by 1, and we check to make sure that it does not go above and beyond the size of our splashes list. And if it does, we set it back to 0. We do the same for our drop index. And then ready just does the startup and the set process. Now in our function process, we add delta to the delta time, and if it's greater than or equal to a certain point, we make delta time equal to 0, and then we run the rain, which gives us I'm sorry, wrong scene. Scene 2, Act 1, go. I did not expect that. Apparently, when we rotate the Y, it needs to rotate a bit faster to give us more of this random look. But let's change this just to see what happens. We're increasing the delta timer, which makes it a bit slower. You can use this for snow or rain, and the great thing about it is the raindrops don't need any collision, which makes this whole thing actually rather cheap. I mean, sure, you could use a particle effect, but I'd rather use this, mainly because I like it. And if for some reason you can't use particle effects, or if you're in a completely different game engine besides the Godot engine that doesn't have particle effects, this might be a nice idea to try. But anyway, if you found this helpful, or if you want to support this or any other thing that I have, you can go to my Patreon page, planetkiller.com. No, it's patreon.com/planetkiller. I'm going to show you something real quick. This is more or less the map for Adventure's Edge. Anyway, if you liked that tutorial, go ahead and subscribe so that you can ring my bell. That's pretty much it for the fake rain tutorial.